they're not just like SOL and don't know what to do. Like, my goal is to empower.
They should be able to chime in the
Mhm.
conversation
Yeah.
and be an active player.
Yeah.
Because it's not, they're not hiring me, they're hiring the creator.
Mhm.
And so, for example, like they're able to come up with solutions like, oh, they can't work on a TikTok or a reel. Like we can do stories. I'm really good at converting and things like that. And they're able to give those suggestions. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. So today we are being joined by one of my dear friends, Cecil Horton, and he is also a fellow content creator and fellow manager. And we basically connected around the topic of negotiations, advocating for creators to brands, and teaching other creators to learn how to advocate for themselves. And so I really love that about him. And I'll just read a little bit about Cecil here before we jump into the episode. So he's the CEO of With Company LLC. Cecil Horton leads a team of creative and influential professionals who help brands and communities connect, engage, and grow through audience-based marketing and communications. He has had over 10 years of experience in digital strategy, D2C marketing, social media, civic engagement, public relations, DEI, and corporate social responsibility. He's also the managing partner of With Content Agency, a brand ambassador of Lululemon, and a community organizer of With Aid, where he uses his platform of 60,000 plus allies on TikTok and other channels to create and share impactful content, inspire and empower people, and support causes that matter. He is passionate about fostering strategic partnerships that align with his values and vision and that generate positive outcomes for all stakeholders. And if you've been tuning in to my podcast every single week, I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. And if you are tuning into this episode during the month of August, in case you didn't know this, it is Naomi's Media, my company's birth month. And so starting August 13th, we are having a birthday promotion on two of my programs, the Spawn Master and the Brand Deal Accelerator. So if you are still not yet in the position to hire a manager and work with one, these two programs are designed to help equip you to secure back-to-back 4-figure, 5-figure brand partnerships and teach you how to advocate for yourself, how to set your rates, how to pitch, how to build relationships with brands, how to negotiate, read contracts, the whole nine. And essentially, as your coach, I am doing everything with you step by step. And so if you're interested in that, this is going to be our biggest sale of the year, and this will be the lowest we're ever going to drop these prices. And so if you're interested or you want to know which opportunity would be the best fit for you to start working with me, make sure to fill out an application that's linked in this episode, or feel free to send me a DM on Instagram. And without further ado, let's jump into the episode. Hey guys, so we are here in the room with the
This is so
Cecil
exciting.
Horton. I know. And this is just because, we've only met like a few months ago.
Yeah, I knew you first.
I
knew
know.
you
I
first.
was asking him this question earlier, like, who found who first?
Yeah. No, I saw creator management videos of yours and creator advice videos. I was going through my photos yesterday looking for something, and I think it was as early as like a few years back.
Really?
Yeah. And
Oh,
I saw a
wow.
screenshot of something. I can't remember what it was or what it said, but yeah, I was like, ah!
That's so
That's
funny.
so full circle.
Yeah, I know. I love that. And that's
Yeah.
just because, like, I mean, on TikTok, don't really like to look at the comments as much or like the notifications as much because they pile up, especially when you
And they used to be
go
organized
viral.
so poorly.
Oh, I know.
So poor. There's still a dumpster fire. So I don't know what we're going to be able to do about that.
Yeah,
But
all good, all good.
yeah.
But welcome. I am
Dude,
so
thank you for
happy that we're
having
able
me.
to do this podcast together. And you guys, if you guys didn't know, I have so much respect for this person. I truly, truly value like all the things that you do online, your perspective and things like that. Like I truly admire it.
I love that it is reciprocal because it's very refreshing.
Yeah, and it's
Also.
very rare too. Like for
Mhm.
me, at least with the space I have, I'm pretty much like very guarded as to who I like, associate with just
Yeah.
because you don't know, what their motives are or like
Mhm.
if they're kind of in alignment with why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah. And I feel
Yeah.
like we connected off of that pretty easily
Yeah.
because of, again, like how transparent and authentic you are online.
Oh, thank
Yeah.
you.
So it was only natural. And it
Yeah.
was only right.
Yay,
Yeah.
amazing. Well, I did want to just obviously like jump into it. But tell us how you got started like in this space, like as a
Word.
content creator and things like that, just so we can hear a little bit about your story.
Yeah. My best friends really wanted me to get on TikTok. At the time, I literally thought it was a dancing app. It was during the pandemic, and I was just like, no. Like, I was working in clinical research, and then I started my
Oh
consulting
my God, that's
business.
very like that's very 180.
I know.
It's kind of like me. It's kind of like me. Like I was a structural engineer. Yeah, very 180.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one of my dear friends, they were also they were a nuclear engineer,
Oh
and
wow.
then they pivoted into becoming an incredible nail tech, and now they're a full-time content influencer, content
Wow.
creator influencer.
That's so good.
Yeah, actually, Christine Glasshouse, she gave me my first tripods and lights. She's always been like my biggest supporter.
Nice.
Yeah.
Amazing.
But yeah, I had a strategic partnership consulting practice.
Mhm.
And in that, I was just like helping nonprofits and front running for profits bridge the gap between some of their like initiatives. And
Mhm.
that led me to, have a pretty cool lifestyle. And when I quit my clinical research job, I
Mhm.
put it on TikTok. That wasn't the start, but I was already posting because I had like a cool loft, which is fun. Um, but that was where I instantly had like a community. And then I was just sharing my lifestyle that my business afforded me.
Yeah.
And then brand deals started to come in. And I think because my hourly consulting was high, it forced, or the only reason I would accept brand deals or negotiate up was because I was used to like making good
Mhm.
money doing it.
Right.
Or I mean, just in general. And when I found out a little bit later that that was not the case for
It's
like
not normal.
my mega creator friends,
Mhm.
I was like, I have to do something about this, and
Right.
instantly decided to start representing everyone. I was talking with a friend earlier today, and like when I realized it, there was quite a bit of a gap there between like what
Yeah.
most creators, specifically Black creators, like knew to charge and knew what was available.
Mhm.
Once I had that realization, I stitched her video and said to reach
Like
out and tag like 28 of my creator friends, like a maniac.
oh my.
But we just haven't looked back from there.
Right.
Yeah.
Amazing. So it's kind of like a pretty smooth like transition for you. Like
Yeah.
I know like we resonate on that a lot when and we have kind of like similar, reasoning as to why we kind of delve into like the management space. Like for
Yeah.
me, it was more so like I had a lot of influencer friends as
Mm-hmm.
well. And there was a lot of things that, they're missing out on
Good
because
time.
of like just not having enough information. For me, I was just like, yeah, like they need help.
Yeah.
And
Like I
there's
couldn't let it happen to my friends, you
right,
know?
exactly. And I like at first too, like I was just doing it to my friends as a way of like, hey, like I want to help you win
Yeah.
because, I like this is what I'm getting.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of us were just kind of like comparing notes and I was like, well, this is what I've done to get this. And
Mm-hmm.
so like it was more so like I want to see my friends also thrive.
Seriously.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because what I didn't realize is that a lot of creators that I was coming across didn't understand that there's like a whole nother room, a whole nother team. Like there are KPIs and full strategies behind,
Mhm.
what just might look like a little email that's hitting your inbox, and
Yeah.
I think that them not realizing how important their content is was
Yeah.
something that I really wanted to like bring their
Right.
attention to and show them how not only to advocate for themselves, but I don't care if I'm cosplaying as your manager. Like they won't get you alone.
Right.
And a lot of
Yeah.
this is optics in a
It is.
way.
Yeah. I have
So
seen some people, like some of my friends, like
yeah.
pretend to be their own manager. Like, oh, this is Stella.
Yeah. And the unfortunate thing is that it works. Like,
Yeah. Right.
so
Also, yeah, it's all always about positioning. And that's
it
like kind of
is.
like something that I teach is like posture, like the way that you carry yourself
Mhm.
really changes the way that the brand responds back.
100%. It's
Yeah.
a confidence game, like
Mm-hmm.
for sure.
Totally.
And speaking almost what maybe to some like a hidden language.
Yeah, I
It.
think for me, when it comes to creators, because a lot of us started this journey as, you know, it's a hobby. Like it's
Mhm.
like something that you do for fun. It's hard for you to grasp that people can actually, or like there are companies and brands that are actually paying tens and thousands of dollars
Mhm.
for you to do
Hundreds
what
of
you love
thousands
doing.
even.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, like,
And so for us, like, especially if you grew up, let's say an immigrant, or like you weren't like,
there's lower
yeah,
socioeconomic, yeah.
yeah, like you just don't understand that because
Mhm.
it's been ingrained in you to work hard for the dollar
And just be grateful.
and just be grateful
Yeah.
and like not ask for anything more.
Yeah.
And I mean,
No,
for me,
accept
that
it.
was,
Accept the pizza party.
that was,
Yeah.
yeah, for me, that was like such a huge crossroads because, yeah, my parents never like really advocated for more money like in their
Mhm.
jobs and stuff like that. They loved the pizza party. They loved making
Not
sure
rocking the
that,
boat in a
yeah,
way.
like not
Yeah.
rocking the boat is exactly.
Because it is still a dream to be here.
Mhm.
You know, maybe if you're a fourth gen American, like, and maybe didn't come from immigrant parents, like,
Mhm.
or families in general, like, you know, you might not recognize that, but like,
Compared
it's,
to where what
mhm,
you left, it's like
exactly,
a lot better.
exactly.
Tell us a little bit more about that first brand deal.
Oh my gosh, it was so cute. The first one that's popping up into my mind where I was like, oh my God, yay. I was driving to go drop off a Cricut machine to my barista friend, and a brand reached out because my username used to be GF Vegan Poppy, like gluten-free
Okay.
vegan poppy. And they reached out for a wellness supplement.
Mm.
And I like had already like a year prior, I was like looking into supplements like that, but like never pulled the trigger. But the brand was family owned for years.
Oh.
And I looked on their website and I was like, oh my God, I love that. Wait a minute. Yeah, I would love this product. And I think they said, would you do, I think, 2 videos
Mhm.
for $1,000? And I didn't really have that many followers.
Oh wow.
I think I said, oh, for something like this, like I'd rather do it for like 4.
Yeah.
Something to the effect of that. And they said,
Mhm.
oh, well, like what if we did like 3,500? I said, well, if you pay half up front now and half on the back end, like we can meet there.
Yeah.
And they were so
Wow.
excited. And
Amazing.
they're like, what's your PayPal? And I tried the product and it tasted so good. But
Amazing.
yeah, I was just like, yay, that was cool.
That's cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
mine was not like that.
Yeah, I feel like most like aren't like that.
I mean,
But the other thing,
I learned the hard way. Yeah.
yeah. The other thing I do want to say is like I was like emailing and driving. Like, and I don't even think I was thinking about it that much in my mind because I love negotiating.
Right.
In my mind, I was
Okay.
just like bidding with someone on OfferUp or Facebook
Right.
Marketplace. Like
Yeah.
there was no like fear, and I do think that like usually a lot of creators have like anxiety because they don't want to say the wrong thing or they don't want to mess things
Like
up or
they
whatnot, you know. But
like
I'm
I
like,
don't want them to ghost me or
yeah.
like say laugh in my face.
And like, you know, but like if they do, if
Right.
the item was already sold,
Right.
you know,
Mhm.
well, like who's to
Yeah.
say? So
Exactly. Yeah, for
yeah,
me it was a lash company. 'Cause I started out as a beauty blogger.
your lashes are always perfect.
Oh, thank
And
you.
your face always beat.
So there was
So
this creator that like heavily promoted this lash brand, and I was obsessed with this creator. I was just like, oh my God, I love her. Like, I want to be her friend, that kind of stuff. So I naturally, if you're being influenced, like you buy all the things that she's talking about. And so I bought those lashes and I just did like a just a organic review of it, of like how much I love them. And they like reached out and wanted to do a partnership. And I worked with them, I think, for like a year, to where like it was
how
constant.
excited were
Yeah,
you?
I was so excited. I was like, oh my God, I'm getting all these lashes from this company that I would literally give them my money for, like
Yeah.
freely.
Yeah.
And they're giving it to me for free. And so it was just, I was over the moon. But obviously, like, I wasn't getting paid like crap.
Yeah.
Over time, that was when I started to kind of like see the amount of work that it took to create content for someone else. Like, I think
Actually.
that was the biggest thing for me, that the realization of like, I'm no longer doing it for me, I'm doing it for a company, that I'm just like, okay, like I need to be compensated for my time.
And that's important. I was talking with a friend this morning and I was saying something along the lines of like, when I do start working with creators, I let them know like we will be saying no more than likely a lot
Yeah.
more than we're saying yes. One, for 2 reasons. First of which being they maybe don't have the budget. But secondly, and perhaps equally as important, until you have had to shoot 4 brand deals in a month, you don't want that kind kind of burnout. It
Yeah.
is not the same kind of, I
Mhm.
just open my phone. I'm
Right.
just, you know,
It's not.
chit-chatting with my friends. Like,
Yeah.
it has weight and gravity
Mhm.
to it
Yeah.
that is likely
Oh
unfamiliar to
god.
you. So,
Yeah, if I can only name all the creators I manage that get burnout because they're just like, "Let's go. I
yeah.
wanna get all the brand deals."
hmm
And then come the holidays, they're just like, "I can't do this."
I had that last week because me and you and I were also reflecting on this, like how great this year has already been. And even though some people say it's been like slower for them, which I'm not saying it has been slow for them, but like that's
Yeah.
just not been like our reality. But I realized last week that it's literally only quarter two or almost quarter three now,
Yeah.
but we still have quarter four. And
Yeah. Oh my
I
god.
like I need to hire someone.
Yeah, definitely
Yeah.
bracing myself for that.
Yeah. Looking forward to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, I definitely agree. What was the worst brand that you've ever worked with? I have stories, but like, you know.
Unfortunately, there've been like 4 situations
Uh-huh.
where I'm like, I will never, if I can help it, never work with this agency or
Again.
brand again.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Um,
I can name a few.
yeah. You know, where I'm like, this is I actually would completely walk away. I won't say the name of the company,
Yeah, let's
but there's been 1, 2, and everyone knows the names of these companies. 3, and I think 4. Yeah, we're at 5. We're at 5. There's never a time where you wanna have to threaten legal action,
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah. Totally.
you know? Like, if you're a brand or if you're an agency, like, don't ghost creators after
Yeah,
agreements have already been made. Like, if
exactly.
something happened, which things inevitably will, whether it be on our
Right.
campaign or another, like,
Like paying on time.
girl, call me. Yeah, like, why?
Yeah.
Like, we can't be scared about things like
Right.
this.
I know. I had this conversation with our management team last week, and we were just talking about how, like, an agency is notorious for always paying late.
Yeah.
I wish I could just stop working with this agency altogether. But because, like, their offers are always, can't resist. And
Yeah.
also, it's so aligned with my
Mhm.
clients that, like, I just have to fold
I need to
sometimes.
know what agency it is. We can't say it now, but I need to know which
Oh,
one it is.
I think you know.
I
I think I've
probably
taught.
do.
Yeah, you probably do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, guys, if you're listening to this, we're just having eye contact.
Yes. Yes.
They've been dragged all over threads, I feel like.
I have had to threaten legal action with them. And unfortunately, every single month, and this is my personal campaign because I no longer have any campaigns for my creators, thankfully, through said platform.
Mhm.
But for a personal campaign of mine that's ongoing and that I've been
Yeah.
on for a year, every month I'm like, guys, do I need to submit an invoice myself? Because everything
Right.
from the brand has been handled according. Everything on my end's been gravy for
Yeah.
the past 13 months. What is going on? I have
Right.
creators in my DM requests asking if they've heard anything back from me. And I don't like having to bring lawyers into the chat.
Yeah, even
So unnecessary.
Mhm.
But they've had such a fair share of, I'll stop this topic, but they've had such a fair share of problems.
Mhm.
If not late payment, it's accidentally auto triggering the entirety of said payments for
Yeah.
all of the creators
Yeah, and it
for a
leaves such a
brand,
bad taste in the mouth of, like, you know, the relationship.
for
Just like
creators and for
for
brands.
brands.
Like,
Exactly.
are you not embarrassed?
Yeah.
But
I don't know.
I'm like, next
Like, I'm like,
question.
what kind of deals are you guys
It's
having with
so
these brands that
weird.
they can't resist working with you?
It is so odd. And truthfully, the platform's not even that great.
No.
But for some of those, it's also kind of like a thing. It's like, you know, don't wait until it's perfect to start. But I feel like for some
Yeah.
things, specifically maybe startups around payment and finance, like you
Yeah.
should have
Yeah. So,
a
and I
viable
know we've talked
product.
about this too. Like, what are some things that, you know, creators can do to kind of avoid, you know, obviously late payments? And that's been kind of like a discourse all over threads of like, what do I do? What are some things that I can do to kind of remedy the problem
Uh-huh.
without having to obviously bring in a lawyer or have to pay for a lawyer?
Before the campaign even begins,
Yeah.
before you sign the agreement, is when we have that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Usually I have that
Agree.
conversation, you know, by saying or having the attorneys, or even if it's me, when we're redlining an agreement,
Yeah.
or even again coming to an offer.
Yeah.
Usually I like to like if a brand wants, maybe the rate isn't exactly where we want it to be, but it's still good. I'm not
Mhm.
saying to ever accept a lowball rate, but like
Yeah.
maybe if I'm asking for 22,000 and they agree at 19,
Yeah.
it kind of behooved me to say, oh, well, maybe instead of a net 90, could we
Oh god.
do, a net 30,
Mhm.
to make up
Right.
for it? Sometimes I'm able to get them to do a net 30. Other times, like, maybe we can only do a net 45, or
Mhm.
God forbid, finance be from the devil themselves. Like, we have to stick for net 90, but we can shave off some
Yeah.
organic usage.
Right.
So I feel like even in instances where like they even agree to that, or maybe they're not able to meet you at the net terms that you want, the follow-up email I always send is something along the lines of, okay, like, can you guarantee that I'm going to be paid
On time.
on net 45? I've never done net 90. Just as
Yeah.
a
Oh
disclaimer.
god.
But like I've heard other people did net 180, and I was like, what is going on
4
here?
months?
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, like big payments too.
Mhm.
I'll ask them, or I'll ask like in writing, like, can we guarantee that I'm going to be paid in
Mhm.
45 days from the content going live? Always make sure it's not based on, not that it's not, but that you have an understanding of when
Yeah.
that payment term starts, whether it be
Right.
after analytics or sent over.
Mhm.
But also please look out for the clause in language that might allude to the fact that you're only going to be paid once the brand has the money or the agency has the money from the
Oh
brand.
yeah. Totally.
Because that's also happened sometimes where we'll catch language that says, it's net 30 after confirmation of receipt from the like brand agency.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
the brand's
Like the
agency.
brands. Yeah.
Yeah, like once the brand has paid the agency that's working with you. And that
Right.
is a horrible situation
Mhm.
because sometimes the agencies like never get the money.
Right.
And
Totally.
then that's when things don't really get too cute.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Um,
something that I do is usually always negotiate the payout
mhm.
time. For me, like especially if it's like a longer term partnership. For example, if it's like a 3-month term, I always ask if they can pay every month or pay up
Yes.
front like
Mhm.
half and then half, just so that, obviously, like if it's going to be a long partnership, like they have to be compensated somehow
Right.
and
Like,
not have to wait like 6 months until like
who's going to be
every
excited for that,
yeah, it's like it's kind of damping
It
almost,
is.
yeah.
And also, we can't be afraid. We're talking to people just like you
Mhm.
and I, like in these emails. Like,
Right.
we have to be comfortable. I don't actually, comfortable or not, I don't care. Ask for exceptions.
Mhm.
Can you
Yeah.
ask the finance manager? Like, I would really appreciate it. We're a small business.
Mhm.
Like creators, like we're all
Right.
small businesses
Yeah, be like,
technically.
"Hey, this is my full-time job and this is the only like
Like,
source of income that I
we
have."
have bills to pay.
Right.
But when I was before escalating things or having to escalate
Mhm.
things, I had to remind them like, thank you so much for like your sympathy, but like
Yeah.
this is their only income. Like,
Right.
would you be comfortable or be able to
Right.
swing
I've
or,
even had to have those conversations.
you
And I
know?
think like that's what a lot of creators like are scared to do
Yeah.
because they think that if you ask those questions, they're going to snip the entire
Yeah.
collab altogether. But I think like those are the important like the conversations that need to be had before
Mhm.
things kind of get worse because,
Exactly.
you don't want you've heard things or like it's happened to you before that you don't want it to happen again.
Honest and something that the senior director of marketing at a brand everyone knows and would love to work with, who I'd consulted for a while. There was an instance where they wanted me on a campaign. I actually kind of shared this on TikTok. I did share this on TikTok, but they wanted me on a campaign. I asked how they came to the number that they
Yeah.
offered me on such late notice for a very niche campaign. They believed it was equitable. It wasn't. I informed them of what would actually be equitable, a number
Yeah.
3 times more than
Right.
what they initially offered. And, when I explained to them why that ought to be the case, in a, again, very respectful way, I did it with the sincere hope that they were going to learn from the experience because not all of us went to school for this. It's
Yeah.
still it's a relatively new
New.
industry.
Right.
Landscapes change all the time, and we are all learning from each other.
Yeah.
And sometimes, and I hoped, and fortunately, it was confirmed that I was correct, that it was just a general like oversight that they
Mhm.
had had. Like they were just mistaken in
Yeah.
their judgment and thought process
Mhm.
behind some things.
Right.
And they thanked me. The senior director thanked me
Yeah.
for like bringing that to their attention because it was general
Mhm.
oversight. It's not always done in the best of faith, but
Right.
again, like we
It's
have
just like,
to
yeah.
educate
Obvious,
each
yeah,
other.
educate, yeah. Because I
Uh-huh.
mean, like the internet, you like Google, how much should I charge an influencer? Like, you
And a
know,
calculator pops up. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Like I remember, so one of my students in my accelerator program actually like talked about this. She was like, "Thank you so much for like going through my rate in detail because it helped me negotiate with a brand who has objections on like why like we think you should only be charging $200." And so
Mhm.
she like broke down like where she got to how she got to that number.
Yeah.
And the guy couldn't say anything. She was like, "Yeah, that totally makes sense."
That's a
And
really good point.
there's so many things that, you know, brands, especially if they're new startups and things like
Exactly.
that, they don't understand like where the numbers are coming from.
Mhm.
And
They just
small
know that
business,
they
yeah,
need or
right.
want
Hmm.
what is the luxury
Right.
to
But
remind
it's like,
them
you know,
of influencer marketing.
small business is small business.
Yeah.
They'll understand it in that language.
Mhm.
And so I think for me, one of the biggest things is like learning how to communicate in a sense where you are not necessarily like it's not us versus them, but
Yeah.
like you're collaborating from the very beginning, not just for the content, but also with the agreement.
Yeah, for what we would hope to be a long-term relationship.
Exactly.
It is unfortunate though sometimes when brands just like aren't and I get it. There are a million different reasons why they may not have the bandwidth to care from the
Yeah.
jump
Right.
to
They handle so many accounts.
yeah, I'm like there are probably 3 people in the department.
Yeah.
One's out of office. Like
Yeah, exactly, especially in the summer.
yeah. Love when we get to work with brands like PMG, for instance. We work together. Shout out to PM, fantastic agency. Worked together on a really big brand campaign, and they were just some of the most kind people.
Mhm.
And from the beginning, and a little goes a long way, is all I'm trying to say.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, totally. And
Mhm.
yeah, for me, I love to ask questions, like, that is, like, my one thing that I always do is, like, I stall and I ask questions. What do you think is a skill that is kind of always overlooked by creators and influencers that they absolutely need to hone in, especially when they want this to be a career?
It won't always be this way, hopefully. But if you're looking to monetize your account via brand deals, please learn to read the room. And what I always suggest to people is look at your favorite creators whom you've seen do brand deals. Look at the brand deals that are popping up on your feed. Like, start to really study perhaps what they look like and then go to the creator's page and see how they're showing up online,
Yeah,
not to mimic, but so that you can get kind of an understanding of what the brands might be looking for.
right.
Brand safety is a very insidious and
Mhm.
lazy element of the equation.
Yeah.
But while I don't agree with it, we do have to accept it sometimes.
We
We have
do
to
live
accept
in a
that that's the
corporate world.
reality. You know what I'm saying?
It is the corporate world.
And yeah, corporate world means that there are legal obligations and hundreds, if not thousands, of stakeholders in some of these really large brands
Mhm.
that you might really want to work with,
Yeah.
whom might not be able to swing the legal risk you might present to them
Yeah.
if you're speaking about, I'm not saying curb any political, but if you're kind of just being a little like reckless and
Reckless.
loose
Yeah.
and not being as thoughtful
Mhm.
behind like, oh, how could a brand see themselves in my content? Would
Yeah.
you want to maybe watch an ad
Right.
that doesn't really
Yeah.
make you feel too
I've
comfy
done those where I'm consuming an ad. I'm like, why are they endorsing this? It doesn't make sense.
at
Or
all,
like, did
you
they
know?
not see what they did 3 months ago? Like that kind of stuff. Like those as a you have to always kind of put yourself in a consumer shoes of like consuming this brand
Yeah.
like ad or whatever. Like, what would I think?
I'm not saying to be fake or inauthentic at all.
Mhm.
But I also don't feel like everyone that wants to do brand deals should or can. You know, there
Yeah.
are a lot of things that a lot of us want to do, that we can't do for one reason or another,
There's a time and place.
There is, and there's seasons for everything.
I learned that in like being in corporate America for like 10 years that like I can't talk, like I can't speak up about everything. I'm a woman of color, immigrant in a predominantly male space in engineering. And like for me being a leader, like I have to think about, does this affect the bottom line?
That's such an
and it
really
sucks.
Yeah, and that's
but also at the same time there's a time and place. Like if there's an opening of like, okay, let's open the floor on how we feel about this,
right,
then that's when you speak up.
And ultimately, I think that I'm just a living testament of this too. We can get really creative with how we create the impact that we want to make.
Right.
Just think about it a little bit more.
Yeah.
And
like
just
how do you turn pain
understand the
into
playing
power?
field. Exactly.
Yeah.
Make a mess.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
make a
yeah, you can
mess.
make a mess and you can make a disruption, but turn the pain into power. And also, like for me, not react is definitely one. I mean, that's definitely something I'm still actively learning.
Yeah.
But yeah, not everything has to be online.
Not everything has to be online. And you really got to know your audience because they're always watching. Might sound dramatic, but you absolutely do not know when they're watching and
Who's
what.
Yeah.
Like, it's not the end of the world. None of us are entitled to brand deals.
Yeah.
None of us are entitled for the luxury that is influencer marketing. That is for every party involved.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I did want to segue a little bit as far as like management, because I know a lot of my followers and yours as well, probably, that are always, kind of very interested in this, like getting a manager type of thing. And so do you think that every content creator needs a manager? I love how quick that is. Okay, why?
For all the reasons that you have ever shared on your page, I love that you consistently bring it back to that because one, you do have to have something to manage. I mean, I get it. It sounds so amazing, whatever your understanding of what responsibility or impact a manager may have on the career you either have or don't at the moment. But there's so much information, Exhibit A, that you can screenshot or archives of information that you can compile yourself before it makes sense for you to give someone what is likely not a small chunk of change.
Yeah, it's not. It's very expensive.
And even when, sure, we're bringing creators from $190 a brand deal to $12,000 for a post. It makes more than enough sense.
Yeah.
For them to obviously compensate or pay like our fee.
Right.
But
if you're like at $100,
it's
like I'd much rather have you keep the money.
Like every once in a while, and do not come into my DMs unless it is a huge brand, but every once in a while, if there's a creator where, like for instance, a small creator was just flown out by Target to see Megan Thee Stallion for their 21st birthday because Target jumped in their comments for a video that went viral of theirs. I had to be in the chat because I didn't want them to get taken advantage of. And I also, for reasons that you fully know, happened to have the time and mental bandwidth to do such, was not expecting anything out of it. But until you have developed enough of your authentic voice and personal brand through your content and have honed and developed a strong relationship with your community, there is still work and attention that needs to be spent doing such.
Yeah.
Before any brand's going to want to even work with you.
Yeah.
Before it's even worth your time and theirs, or anyone else's for that matter. So yeah. Some people do need a manager because they don't have the time. They have a full-blown business. They have other
or like
responsibilities.
They're just drowning in their inbox and they have no time to create.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think for me, like the biggest thing is I risk my time for free, or like, not for free, but like a lot of my unpaid hours I'm risking for a creator I'm managing. And so for me, I have to be very intentional about who that time goes to.
Right.
And it has to be on someone that really needs help moving the needle.
Exactly.
But there has to be a needle to be moved.
Right.
A lot of these creators like don't really understand the business side, in a sense where like you don't know, like if it's not me or you, like you could get a random talent manager. Are they gonna do right by you? Are
Right.
they gonna shave money off the top? Or are they
Yeah.
gonna
Oh,
do
right.
things like if you
Yeah.
don't get CC'd on any emails, like how do you know what that process is looking like? Are
Yeah.
you able to
Do you
evaluate if
even
they're
see your
doing a
inbox?
good job?
Yeah.
I had a client who left for another agency to try out another agency and then
Mhm.
came back, and she was like, yeah, I hated my experience because they weren't even trying to collaborate on meeting in the middle with the budget that they had. They were just like either yes or no.
Mhm.
And I love that I'm able to know that because I've done this myself before and this
Yeah.
is what I would have done. And so if you don't know what you would have done, then you shouldn't get a manager because
Mhm.
like you're basically handing over your income potential on someone else. And I think
Actually.
someone who has more experience or has done the results, they're a lot more protective of their business because they're like, I'm handing this over, the
Mhm.
potential, to someone else, and
Yeah.
I'm letting go of control.
Yeah.
But like for a lot of creators who want managers but don't have not grasped that yet,
Mhm.
it hasn't gone to their head that this is what's
Uh,
going to happen.
right. And I'm right there with you. I also, because I don't always have the bandwidth, nor does it make the most sense for me to do as much unpaid labor, being a creator like myself, and beyond that, just the amount of my brain CPU that is occupied by autism.
Yeah.
I don't have that many hours a day
Right, exactly. Like it can
to
get
spin my
taxing,
wheels.
especially if you're
So
like, getting all these like random brands that you've never heard of and you just like
yes,
spending I at least spend an hour a day like just filtering through emails of like, okay,
actually,
yeah,
yeah.
bad, bad, bad. For me, like it's at least for me, it's really important. And I had to learn that the hard way too, wanting to get a manager, but like I wasn't in that position yet. And
Okay.
just like, okay, now I kind of have to see how I can get there myself.
Yeah.
And then like because of that, I'm able to kind of direct my manager and be like, okay, I'm okay with that
Hmm.
number. And they're able to kind of, push the number a little bit more.
Definitely,
Yeah.
because like you're a team. I was
Hmm.
responding to a brand today, or respond to a client, and I asked them like, how do they feel
Hmm. Yeah,
like
I always
about
do that.
like, because I just need to check your post to see if
Hmm.
like, are you offloading all of the thinking to me?
Yeah.
Like, I want to make sure that
Right.
you're picking up what we've been putting down,
Hmm.
because ultimately my goal is to work with as many creators who like actually do need the support,
Yeah.
so that over what's maybe the course of 3 or 4 deals, they
Hmm.
understand,
Yeah.
they're starting to really get the full picture of not
Right.
only how far they can take things, but how to go about doing so.
Yeah.
So that should like circumstances change, like maybe they drop from working their full business from 7 days a week where their hands
Hmm.
are tied to, 6 or 5.
Yeah.
They're not just like SOL and don't know what to do. Like my goal is to empower
Right.
the creators that I get to
Yeah,
work with.
exactly. They should be able to chime in the
Mhm.
conversation
Yeah.
and be an active player
Yeah.
because they're not hiring me, they're hiring the creator.
Mhm.
And so, for example, like they're able to come up with solutions like, oh, they can't work on a TikTok or a reel. Like we can do stories. I'm really good at converting and things like
Mhm.
that. And they're able to give those suggestions.
It's really nice when like we
Yeah.
get to work together like
Right,
that. Yeah. I'm like,
exactly. And
yes,
I like
go.
as much as like like I want to help every single creator, there's a
Uh-huh.
lot of creators that don't need management.
Right.
And like it leaves a bad taste in our mouths like if they're not ready for it and it
Mhm.
ends up kind of dissolving because it wasn't working. And it was
Right.
just because you didn't have.
Just wrong expectations.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
despite explicitly being told to
Yeah.
expect.
Also, like I've heard of like creators like getting scared of having their management drop them, like because they just don't know how to survive without one.
Ooh, that would be a situation to be in.
Yeah, I threaded about this the other day. I was like, the worst place to be in is when you're a content creator or influencer that's fully dependent of
Mhm.
a manager. Like what if they decide, "Hey, I'm going to shut down my agency," or
Yeah.
like I'm going to take a, maternity leave or
Yeah.
whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Like, they just decide to drop you. Like, what do you do from then if you don't know how to manage your own
Actually.
work?
Right. Yeah. That would be a really interesting situation.
Yeah. What do you think about creators like quitting influencing and going back to a 9 to 5?
I think I can understand the appeal, and I'm sure that no two instances are the same, though I'm sure there's some that are like very similar.
Yeah.
I know I don't know how you could do it. I don't knowing how much like just money we can make
Yeah.
by simply being ourselves.
Right.
But that's me. Some people probably really do like not having to work for themselves.
Yeah.
You know,
It's not
like
for everyone.
it's not for everyone. Just like working for someone else isn't for everyone, you know. I'm someone that like really likes variety, you know, and new little problems to solve, you know. So that's why I love negotiating and love creating content, you know, and love being locked in. But what do you feel? How do you feel about creators?
I think, it's obviously it's definitely not for everyone. And I think for me, like when I see, it's definitely unfortunate when I see like creators like kind of hating being full-time content creator because they kind of look at it as another job, or like it doesn't feel fun for them anymore. And I think like some creators probably went through it too fast.
Yeah.
Or
especially
like
during the pandemic.
Yeah, and especially like for example, you get, let's say, a $40,000 month. It's a good month, and then not every month is like that. There would be months where it's zero, and they don't know how to handle it.
Yeah.
And so I think for me, like there has to be some sort of consistency of like, okay, like I'm gonna do this full time. This is what I'm gonna fully rely on.
Yeah.
What does this look like 5 years from now, 10 years from now? What am I gonna do? I think a lot of creators don't really think about it that way. I think for me, it was a lot more of a risk because I was risking a 6-figure income.
Yeah.
To replace it with influencing. Like, you know what I mean? Like creating videos for a living. Like to me, like there's a lot more value that I was giving up, that I was like, okay, I need to make sure that there's a path, like that I know what I want to do. Like when I'm 50, do I want to be dancing in front of a camera? Or like, do you want, like, what does that career progression look like?
Right. I don't think a lot of creators view content creation or influencer marketing as the tool or vehicle that it is.
Yeah.
To get to whatever.
Right. It's just a stepping stone. Like
exactly.
Like, it opens a lot did doors. Like if you look at like other creators that have existed in this space for such a long time, like how did they evolve their career?
Exactly.
You know?
Like Kim Kardashian is not just on that show still.
Exactly. I'd like to close this out, and I wanted to ask, is there any advice that you have for the next generation of content creators and influencers in terms of just, the brand deal side or like the business side?
To only work with and talk about and promote on the brand deal side. This solely talking about brand deals. Only talk about things you're obsessed with.
Yeah.
You do not have to be a living advertisement.
Oh, yeah.
Please focus on your community. And again, don't want anything prematurely. Know that it'll come when it comes.
Yeah.
But also there is enough information out there to get started like on your own. You know, but focus on community.
Right.
Like, focus on your community for sure. Focus on, if you want to start doing brand deals, focus on providing value to your community.
Right.
Unless you're a personality creator, in which case I probably still would not think that I should consistently expect brand deals if you don't have, if you're not a subject matter expert or whatnot. But focus on providing value.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. And then where can we find you?
On all platforms at with.cecil. At with Cecil.
Yay.
Yeah.
I love that.
Thank you so much. This was fun.
Thank you. This is so fun. We've gotten so much more out of you. So
this is fun.
Yeah. Thank you so much for doing this.
And thank you for holding us down for so long. Yeah.
I had more questions, but we'll save that for part 2 maybe.
Right. We'll go live.
Exactly. All right. Well, thank you.
Catch you soon.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.